This is Haris Kruskic, BR Live's combat sports reporter, and today we are here with One Championship's Vice President, Miesha Tate. Miesha, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
Thank you for joining us. So first and foremost, we are 2 weeks into the One on TNT event series for April, and just want to get your takeaways right quick after the first 2 weeks, because it's been a pretty crazy first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would say so. 50% of the way through those cards, and I think it's been a big success so far. I know a lot of social media, a lot of media in general has been covering it. Kind of a crazy twist of events in that first event, right? Obviously, Demetrius Johnson came up short. I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of thought he would probably find a path to victory. But, I was telling people, don't underestimate Adriano Moraes, because he's just kind of a badass all around. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, the knee on the ground, right? The thing that Demetrius Johnson was saying, like, yeah, it should be allowed, was kind of bit him in the butt as far as it's what took him out in the caused him to lose that fight. And then obviously the controversial DQ with Eddie Alvarez, that kind of sucks. That sucks big time. But I'm kind of hoping, and I don't have any insight on this because I don't work with the athletes or the athletic team, but I was just thinking after that fight, I was like, why don't they get him back on the fourth one? Wouldn't that be great? That would be cool. So I don't know, if any other great minds in this world are thinking like me, that's what I would be trying to make happen. So I don't know. We'll see if maybe, because he didn't have a scratch on him. I don't even think he took a shot. You know what I mean? So, and then the second card was a really great card as well. I thought, every fight ended with a finish, except for there was also one unfortunate disqualification as well. But it was a hell of a card. And if you like Muay Thai with 4-ounce gloves, you're going to love One Championship. It's pretty much all the striking that happens in MMA on the feet, but they just never hit the ground. So some people really like that. I appreciate it myself. I appreciate all of it though. I love the ground game as well, but you put those tiny gloves on Muay Thai fighters and it's pretty magical.
Absolutely. So since you've been with One Championship over the past couple of years, what do you say, or what can you say that you've learned the most over the past couple of years from One?
Well, it was quite an experience. I moved over to Singapore. I lived there for almost a year and a half, moved back more so because of the pandemic and kind of everything being shut down, feeling so isolated in Singapore. But, I think I learned the most about myself, right? When I retired from fighting, there were so many questions, like what next? What opportunities would I have? What can I do? Who is Miesha Tate besides Miesha Tate, the fighter? I didn't know any of those answers, but I went over to Singapore and I learned a ton about myself. It was kind of just my family and I, that's it. We moved up, went across the world, and I learned a lot about my potentials, like what I can do outside of just being a fighter. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And I'm very grateful for their support in me wanting to make my return to MMA, and looking forward to their last two events, every Wednesday. So be there on TNT on Showtime. So we've got two more. It's going to be good, right? Because we have what is it? I'm picturing is John Lineker, right? If you remember John Lineker, very heavy-handed man fighting Troy Worthen, who's American based out of Florida, was a part of Team Evolve for a while there, and that should be a very fun fight. People should be looking forward to that. So, yeah, it's all very good.
Well, I was going to ask you for your predictions on the next couple cards, but since you mentioned it, we'll get right into it. So next week, headlining One on TNT 3, as you mentioned, Hands of Stone, John Lineker taking on Troy Worthen. How do you see that playing out?
Troy is still evolving in his career. And although he's a great wrestler, he's a good fighter, I haven't seen him look as comfortable inside the circle as I think that John Lineker is. And that's something I think sometimes comes with being a seasoned veteran. And John Lineker is very heavy-handed. So I would probably say Lineker, but I think that there are paths to victory too for Troy Worthen, who, again, he's the young, hungry lion. Can't really underestimate somebody who has yet to prove themselves. These are the moments where they get to do, they get the opportunity to do that. And he may do that. I really have no idea, but I do know that John Lineker is very battle tested. That's what I do know. So I guess I'm gonna go more with the devil I know than a more, than the unproven one. But big opportunity for Troy right here.
A week later on one on TNT 4 on April 28th, we have Reug, Umar Kane, who's becoming a sensation in his own right at one championship, taking on a debuting Kirill Grushenko. Thoughts there?
Well, what I will say is that Reug is, well, I mean, he's a phenomenal wrestler. If you ever watched, I did not know what Senegalese wrestling was per se, but I watched, and it's very fun to watch. I mean, it's kind of, to let me paint a picture of it, takes place in a big sand pit essentially. And it's kind of like if Greco-Roman and sumo wrestling had a baby. That's kind of how I would describe it. And it's all about throws and tosses. So if he gets a hold of you, I mean, I would say there's like a 99% chance you're going for a ride. But where maybe you could mistake that he would have more experience on the ground, like not really so much, because usually it's like once they get to the ground, they get that position, it's back to the feet again, So I mean, it should be a very good fight. I really like what Reug brings to the table, and yeah, I think it'll be a very good one. He also was on the one on TNT 1 event, so yeah, he's very fun to watch. He's a very powerful man, and he's very flashy. He gets a lot of those wrestling throws, and he's a good fighter.
So not only do you have, one to pay attention to, but recently you announced that you are returning to the UFC, coming out of retirement to take on Marion Reneau July 17th. What made you decide to come out of retirement?
I just wanted to. I just felt like I wanted to fight again. I think the pandemic, again, it just kind of hit home, made me realize the things that are really important to me and reassess what my dreams and goals were. And when I sat back and I was like, I couldn't train at all because all the gyms were closed down. I was in Singapore. I had just had my son. I thought, what better time than now to climb back out of where I'm at? I mean, physically, I just had a baby, so I knew it was going to be a big challenge to get back into that kind of fight shape. But I like challenges, and I felt like the challenge was there. It was set, and the opportunity also, I wanted to make the best of the time that I had, and I have a great support system now. I have a wonderful man by my side, Johnny, and I have 2 beautiful kids, and my parents, and everybody who really loves and supports me. And I can honestly say that it wasn't that easy. It wasn't like that for the first part of my career. Like, I just didn't have that right support system. So now I do, and I feel like this will be the best version of myself. So it was kind of like, I got to do this, and I really want to.
How did Marion Reneau come to be your opponent?
Oh, you'd have to ask the matchmakers about that, to be honest. I told them, like, look, I at first I was thinking maybe fighting 145, but then that division, it just kind of seems like it's going away or something. I'm not really sure, but once it started to kind of diminish, I was like, look, I want options, so I'll go back down to 135. And then Mick was like, well, what about this? And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of interested in Yana, although I never like to be the person to pick my opponents, Yana Kunitskaya, because she's ranked number 5, and I think she's been doing really good things. But I think the storyline, that Marion is going into her retirement and I'm coming out of retirement. She's always been so close to being a contender. She's never been finished, ever. She's nobody has ever finished her. So granted, she has some losses on her record. They're all very close. A lot of them are split decisions. She also has some phenomenal finishes, like a triangle choke over Jessica Andrade, and she hurt Sarah McMahon on the feet, as well as triangle choked her out. So look, she's dangerous. I'm afraid that some people are going to look at her record and say, oh, she's not that good. I just don't look at it that way at all. I think that the record does not tell the true story. Marion Reneau is a very, very good fighter. She's a great fighter. And I know I have to mind my P's and Q's. But I see more paths to victory for myself than I think than she has to beat me. So I'm excited to bring Miesha 2.0. I really am. And July 17th, I just feel like it can't come fast enough.
So I know you still have a few fights on your current UFC contract, but I also know that one is working on building up their 135-pound women's division. Could we at some point potentially down the road see you fighting for one?
Oh, I mean, you never know. I have 6 fights right now with the UFC. Have to finish up that one, but that contract, and so much can change between now and the time that I want to do it. Right now, I see myself wanting to fight for 2 years, but when 2 years can come and go really fast, and you think you know what you want, and by the end of those 2 years, I may still want to fight, and I may not. So the potential is there, though. If I finished out the contract with the UFC and decided that I wanted to change and go over to one championship, I'm pretty sure that they would be happy to have me. So yeah, we'll see.
Miesha, thank you for taking the time. Again, you can watch one on TNT3 next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, starting on BR, and then at 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT, and then catch one on TNT4 April 28th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on BR, and 10
Yes.
p.m. Eastern on TNT.
Oh, and one more thing, I'll be hosting on Clubhouse for this next Wednesday. So if anybody's on the Clubhouse platform and you want to have a little watch party with me, that's what we do. We kind of log into the BR Live, when the Watch TNT app, or wherever you're watching it, watch the fights together and chat and have fun. So you guys can join me this coming Wednesday on Clubhouse.
Miesha, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it, and hope you have a good one, and enjoy your return to the UFC.
Thank you so much.